Hello everyone, my name is Oscar and today I'm going to present a short English lesson about daily routines, when to use the simple present tense. This lesson is designed for students for 7th grade. We're gonna learn this as it is something basic from A1 or A2 level. The objective is to help students talk about their daily habits in English, and we're gonna start with the first slide. Here you can see the daily routines, and here we're gonna learn some verbs that are very important that we use every day in our daily routines. First, we wake up, that is what we usually do. Then we can brush our teeth, take a shower, have breakfast, go to school, go to work. That is depending on the things that you do every day. And in your personal case, I think that you just come to study or just wake up and do general activities during the morning, depending if you study in the morning or in the afternoon. And here we're gonna see that you are gonna be able to recognize and use daily routines, verbs in the simple present. As I was letting you know, here are some examples. That is what we usually do when we wake up in the morning, and students will use these verbs to communicate in a real way, to provide general information about your daily routine, about your everyday stuff that you do. And so we're gonna continue with the second slide. It is uh, the things that we usually do. For example, if you go to a school and you're in doing physical education, here you are gonna be able to see that you walk, that you can run. In the first picture, you can see a boy and a girl that are running. So in this case, we can use they are running or they run generally every Tuesday. When you have physical education, you can jump, you can do a lot of activities. Generally, boys go and play soccer or jump. That is depending on what you're doing in your daily activities. So here it's a small example that you can use. For example, if you are only gonna talk about he or she run, you just need to use an additional s to the verb. So she runs every Tuesday, he runs every Tuesday, she jumps, he plays soccer, and she is just jumping. And here you can see a lot of examples about daily activities, but the most important thing here is to realize that when you are going to talk about he or she, you just need to add an s, an additional s to the verb. So it is something very important in the simple present tense. And here you can also use the verbs that we were seeing previously. um, you can use them in this activity as well. And now we're gonna see the base structure of the simple present tense. For example, I plus the base verb, or he or she, is we were checking previously. I wake up at 6 a.m. At 7 a.m. I brush my teeth, I take a shower, I have breakfast, I go to school. You are going to describe the daily routines. As I was letting you know previously, when you talk about he, she, you are going to use the main verb plus the s. She wakes up at 6 a.m., he brushes his teeth. That is the difference. Only you need to use an additional s, and depending on the verb, you can use es, like in brush, like in watch. He watches TV. And that is something important to have an account. Now, I'll introduce some new vocabulary. Let's check here. Okay, here we go with the 5 slide that are examples. I wake up at 7 a.m. She or he has breakfast at 7:30. He goes to school at 8. He walks. He studies. There, in that case, you just do not need to add an additional s, but you need to add IES because of the ending of the verb study. So you need to use IES. There are special cases where you just don't need to add the S, but in this case, for the ending that is in the letter Y, you need to add IES. And he or she studies, he or she runs. Remember to use the letter S. These are common daily activities that you can do in your daily routine. I say the word first, and then students are gonna be able to repeat after me. I wake up at 7:30. I eat breakfast. I go to school. I do homework or I study. I sleep. After that, um, you can start learning new vocabulary and start using it in your everyday activities. So let's go with the next slide. We already checked the vocabulary and also the verbs that are pretty important in this case. Let's check understanding. You are gonna look at the picture and answer, what does she do in the morning? That is the way to make the question, what does she do in the morning? And then you can answer, she wakes up at 7 a.m. or at 6:30 a.m. Does he go to school at 7 a.m.? Yes, he does. No, he doesn't. That is the correct way to answer the question. What time do you wake up? I wake up at 7 a.m. And yeah, you can use those type of um, verbs to answer the question. Here you can see that for he, for she, or for it, we're gonna use the auxiliary does to make the question. For we, they, you, we're gonna use the auxiliary do. Here we can see an example. What time do you wake up? Here we're gonna use the auxiliary do, but for the case he or she, we're gonna use does. Does he go to school at 7 a.m.? What does she do in the morning? And you just need to make a short reply, short answer. She, yes, he does. Does he go to school at 7 a.m.? Yes, he does. No, he doesn't. And then answer a longer question if you want. For example, does he go to school at 7 a.m.? No, he doesn't. He goes to school at 6 a.m. What time do you wake up? I wake up every day at 6 a.m. in the morning. So that is a good example. Now it's your turn. You are going to start using the verbs in the way that I was doing it. Also, you are going to um, talk with your classmate about the routines, what you do every day. You are also gonna then provide a little bit about the information that your classmate let you know. And we are also gonna do a writing activity, match routines with pictures. You are going complete gaps, fill sentences, make your own sentence about your personal routine. Play the word wall spinner that I have created. Here we can see the link. And so it is time to start making the your own um, phrases, your own statements, talking about the daily routine. So in here, I need that you participate. If you didn't understand something, don't worry that we're gonna be talking about daily routines. We're gonna be using the auxiliary do and does to make questions, and also we're gonna be using DS in the verbs when we talk about he or she or it, and also the verbs that we have studied previously and that we're gonna start using. So uh, that your participation is gonna help us to verify if you need to practice a little bit more. Thank you very much for your time and for the attention, and we're gonna start right now.